My name is Jen, and I am on a journey in order to break free from the destructive patterns of disordered eating and in order to embrace a nourishing lifestyle. My roadmap can be described using an acronym of the word Nourisher. So I'm doing daily video blog posts in order to encourage you, equip you, and keep you up to date on my progress. If this content is helpful or encouraging to you, please consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and sharing with others. It is my deep desire that these videos would help to ignite nourishing transformations in us all. Hi everybody, I'm Jen. Thank you so much for joining me for day 8 of my Nourisher Check In. I am using the Nourisher acronym to reflect on my day, and I'm going to dive right in with N, notice my emotions. So noticing my emotions today reminded me of a program that my children used to watch when they were little called Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, which I believe is actually the animated version of what used to be in my era. Here I'm giving away my age. In my era, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And Daniel Tiger, who's such a sweet little character, has this song and often talks about how we can feel two different things at the same time, and that's okay. And they can even be opposing things. So in this case, today I felt very, excited, energized, productive, just really, really enthusiastic. And then on the other hand, I felt kind of insecure and a little bit stirred. And maybe it's better to describe it. Have you ever had somebody who is a really safe person for you, just kind of wrap their arms around you, and you were able to kind of take this big, restful, deep breath? Today was like the opposite of that for me. I just felt really wound up and really kind of not grounded. So that was my check-in for my emotions. Opening up to others was so terrific today. I had a really great tea with a girlfriend that was so encouraging. And also today was my journey group. I think I mentioned that last week as well. A really special time with a group of ladies that I do each week via Zoom. And this week we were actually talking about a part of our brain called the amygdala. So I'll save that for the rewiring our brain area, but it was a really, really helpful conversation. R is, U. Let's learn how to spell. I've never been a good speller. U is understand the cycle. And the cycle today was very interesting. What I noticed when I am on that cycle, in that spin, I can be so consumed by my thoughts, and they're they can be so relentless. As strategizing isn't the right word, but they're so consumed with how I'm planning out or negotiating or whatever, or fighting against my interactions with food. And if you're supporting someone through this journey of wanting to break free from these patterns of disordered eating, I wonder if it might be an opportunity for you to find out what it's like inside their brain for them. Because for me, at least, and maybe if you're on this journey, I wonder what it's like for you, because it's just so exhausting sometimes. It's like my brain just never gives up this constant battle about, or it's almost like it plays games. So for example, today, what I noticed was I made a really yummy lunch. I made some baked cauliflower buffalo bites, kind of like buffalo wings, only with cauliflower. And I had a really big second helping, which was bigger than I needed. And when it came time for, when I would have normally had a snack in the afternoon, I was still full. But it was just that I was still full. So I just didn't have anything and just kind of went on with the day. But what I noticed was that there wasn't this major mental gymnastics around that process. Because I think what would have often happened if I was kind of on the spin wheel, entrenched in that cycle, is I would have said, oh, I had extra helping at lunch, so therefore I'm going to try to make up for that by not allowing myself to have snack, or and then getting to snack and being really hungry and feeling guilty and making some other negotiation or whatever. Just sometimes can be a really heavy, all-consuming mental game. And I didn't notice that today. It just wasn't that big a deal, which was so encouraging. So that was what I noticed about the cycle today. Rebuild our brains. Okay, I promised you I'd come back to this amygdala thing. So the amygdala is an area of your brain that is very important. Sometimes it's called the lizard brain or the reptilian brain because lizards actually have this part of the brain. And it is there to keep you alive and to keep you safe. It's like an assessment tool that the brain has that's constantly scanning your environment, your situations, and judging whether or not things are good, bad, or scary. Well, it's just to put it really, in my very humble opinion of, or humble understanding of a very complex structure. So that's quite primitive or quite narrow in terms of its options. It's labeling options. It can't label things very robustly. It can only label things, if I understand it correctly, as kind of good, bad, or scary. And if it labels it good, it's no problem. You can go on with your day. But if it labels something, an experience or, a person, a situation, whatever, as bad or scary, it sounds the alarms and it sends adrenaline rushing through your body, in which case you start to go into your flight, fight, or freeze response, which is there to keep you alive, to keep you safe. The problem is that this response is often maladapted for a couple of reasons. One, it's because this response is based on opinions, largely based on opinions that were made in early childhood or significantly emotional times. So, for example, if you had, a very, scary interaction with a cat when you were younger, you may still, in your older years, even though, rationally you might be able to conceive that cats aren't that scary, or maybe there's even a cat that has had its nails clipped so that they're no longer, a threat to you, and yet your body sees that cat and still goes into an automatic response. So I will make one note, though, is that some people think that their body shouldn't go into this type of such a hyper response if it's not an actual life-threatening situation. But I've been encouraged to remember that to our brains, being disconnected from those that we love and rely on is very threatening. And therefore, my understanding is that an angry face, someone who's displeased with you or expressing not connecting with you in a way that you feel you hope or need, can also be interpreted by the body as very threatening and throw me into these type of responses. So the point is that our body can get really, really amped up, really hyper, or really, really paralyzed, whatever. I tend to be a freezer. I tend to, let's say, for example, that there was a face that someone who looked like maybe they were displeased with me, or maybe with something that I said. I tend to freeze, shut down, not be able to think very clearly, not have access to the parts of my brain that are maybe more advanced or better at, communication and problem solving and that kind of thing. That tends to shut down, and I just kind of go a little bit paralyzed. So how can we stop this response? So the first thing that is really helpful for me, and I'm learning, and I'm just totally, I've read a bunch of stuff in a book about this, but actually doing it, I'm just right in it with you, just learning all of this. So the first thing is just to notice it. And before I started this journey, I just didn't even notice when my body would go into this response. And when I started noticing that this was happening, I noticed that it feels like there's an anvil on my chest. It feels like there's this deep pressure on my chest, and typically my shoulders are really tensed and elevated. Often my eyebrows are, and my face is really clenched, and my heart rate is often up. Sometimes I'm flushed. And now I'm just all of a sudden, I was just even oblivious that my body was responding to this increased adrenaline rush. So the first thing is to notice it. And then anything you notice in your body, if you're able to kind of drop the shoulders, let your face kind of mellow out a little bit, even put a hand on your chest, or, some people you feel it, that tightness in your stomach, or might start getting a headache. So the first thing is to notice it and see if you can, take a few deep calming breaths and actually provide a little bit of care to the areas that are holding the stress. The second thing that, there's so many things that we could talk about here, but the second really quick trick for me to kind of start this, turn off the amygdala fight, flight, or freeze response and activate what's called our parasympathetic nervous system, which helps us to rest, is to yawn. Because yawning actually activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the system that we need to be activating in order to get our brains back online so that we can actually think and problem solve and realize that that cat is just a cat and not a saber-toothed tiger. So when I yawn, I like to just kind of do a shoulder roll over to one side and then to do a yawn. I wonder if I made you yawn, because when we see other people yawn, we yawn. And if you want to make it like a real yawn, sometimes if you jiggle your chin a little bit, it actually activates a real yawn response. So then just go over to the other side. And doing that just nice and slowly 2 or 3 times can really help just settle and calm everything down. There's so many other things we could talk about. Please, in the comments below, if you recognize, maybe write, what do you recognize in your body when you're in that fight, flight, or freeze response? And what do you do about it? How do you help quiet and calm back down so that we can be more of ourselves again? The other thing to note, again, it's a whole nother video worth of content, but another thing to note is that when we're in that state, when the amygdala is on, the amygdala is not relational, meaning we typically feel all alone. And we typically have a hard time feeling relational or connected at that time. So if we can help settle our bodies and help quiet our bodies down, it can help us to re-engage in the relationships that could be nourishing for us as well. So just a note on that. We can talk more about that later. But yeah, so that was just some really great teaching and discovery and thoughts about how to rewire our brains. And again, that yawn response, yes, I can do it when I'm amped up and when my amygdala's yelling, bad, bad, scary, scary, and sounding off the alarm bells. But I can also do it routinely throughout the days when I'm not amped up, in order to help train my parasympathetic system, my rest system, to be stronger, kind of like weightlifting, so that I'm ready to handle that attack the next time it comes. Insulin-friendly eating went very well today. My lovely cauliflower broccoli bites were delicious. Maybe if I have time, I'll put the recipe down below. And sleep. Don't ask me about sleep. It was really bad again last night. But tonight is going to be different, I hope, I think. Hydrate was good, really good. And I've already got my bottles refilled at the door, ready to go for tomorrow. What I'm noticing is, again, and we can talk about this later too, but I'm noticing that I think the hydration is really helping with my digestion, which has always been a problem for me. And, the bit that I've read about it, it just really seems in the research that there's such a link between gut health and brain health, and therefore, an impact on our mental health as well. So I'm really motivated to heal my digestion, and I think the hydration is really helping with that. So that's great. Exercise, it was a pouring rainy day, so I didn't get out for a walk or anything today. And then in the evening we tried to hook up the Wii Fit, but my husband wasn't around and he's the technical wizard and I couldn't get it to work. So no exercise today, but I am feeling gracious about that towards myself. And again, that is helping me to see that I'm not really entrenched in the disordered eating cycle, because that's just okay. Tomorrow will be a new day and try again, but not beating myself up about that as I may have in other days when I was more entrenched in the cycle. My reward today is just being over the sugar withdrawal that feels so good, like the nausea's gone and no shakiness, and I'm feeling so much better, and just the idea of getting to journey with you, hearing your stories, it's just so exciting. So I am looking forward to checking in with you again tomorrow. I may in the next few weeks do kind of some specific questions, or some people have had some questions specifically about me, who am I, my journey, that kind of thing. So feel free to throw those in the comments, and if I can get to them in a video, I would love to do that. And I really hope that today was a very nourishing day for you, and wish you all the best. Have a great day. Bye.